Turkey has said Saudi Arabia must cooperate with the investigation into the disappearance of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi and allow Turkish officials to enter its Istanbul consulate. On Thursday, Turkey said Saudi Arabia had agreed to form a joint working group at Riyadh's initiative to investigate the case. Turkish sources say that the initial assessment of the police was that Khashoggi, and an outspoken critic of the Saudi government, was deliberately killed inside the consulate. Riyadh has dismissed the allegations as baseless. Turkish newspaper has reported that Ankara's investigation into the disappearance of a prominent Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi has revealed recordings made on his Apple Watch, purportedly indicating he was tortured and killed. The report in the pro-government Sabah Daily, which could not immediately be verified, emerged after a delegation from Saudi Arabia arrived in Turkey for a joint investigation into his disappearance. Two senior Turkish officials previously said that Khashoggi had been wearing a black Apple Watch when he entered the consulate and that it was connected to a mobile phone he left outside. British billionaire Richard Branson is among the business leaders and media organizations distancing himself from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia after the disappearance of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Branson said that his Virgin Group would suspend its discussions with Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund over a planned $1 billion investment in the group's space ventures. Media and technology executives have also boycotted the elite three-day Future Investment Initiative conference, which takes place at the end of October. Airstrikes by the Saudi-led coalition fighting the Houthi group in Yemen has killed at least 10 civilians in Hodeidah province. Medical sources say 10 people have died when the airstrikes hit the Houthi checkpoint in the town of Jabal Ras, while a bus was passing through. 8 members of the same family were among the victims. The Houthi movement's Al Masira TV says that 17 people have died and many others were in a critical condition. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut has called on Washington to respect a court ruling on U.S. Pastor Andrew Brunson, who was allegedly found guilty of aiding terrorism. The court sentenced Andrew Brunson to 3 years and 1.5 months in prison on terrorism charges, but said that he would not serve any further jail time. The pastor, who lived in Turkey for more than 20 years, was put in prison 2 years ago and has been under house arrest since July. Relations between the two nations, the two NATO allies, have been strained by U.S. support for Kurdish fighters in northern Syria. Thousands of people joined a march for the climate in Paris, urging greater action to reduce the impact of global warming. Many parents took their children to the march, expressing concern for their future. Protesters raised issues such as carbon emissions, extreme weather, waning biodiversity and nuclear power as crucial to addressing the impact of climate change. Saturday's march was a follow-up to a similar gathering on the 8th of September after the resignation of Popular Environment Minister Nicolas Hulot. Thousands of people marched in Geneva, urging politicians to take immediate and drastic actions to fight climate change, holding placards reading, "There is no planet B," or "The world is burning and we are acting as if nothing was happening." It followed the publication on Monday of the latest report of UN climate experts from Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which says that keeping the Earth's temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius would not be possible if there was not rapid, unprecedented changes in the way people use energy to eat, travel and live. At least 7 mountaineers were killed after their camp on a Himalayan peak in western Nepal was hit by a storm in the country's worst climbing disaster in 2 years. Police say villagers who reached the site at the base camp of Mount Gurja on Saturday spotted 7 bodies in the mountain slopes. Police officials said that an avalanche had hit Gurja and it was impossible to land as everything was destroyed. adding that his team would resume the search today. A Venezuelan opposition activist who was freed from jail after 4 years arrived in Madrid. The Spanish government says it hoped his release would help end the political crisis in South American country. Laurent Gomez Saleh, who was prosecuted for disturbing public order after organizing anti-government protests, took a direct flight from Caracas shortly after leaving jail, accompanied by a Spanish official. In 2017, the European Parliament awarded Saleh the Sakharov Prize for freedom of thought. The bodies of 11 babies have been found hidden at a former funeral home in Detroit in the United States after authorities received an anonymous letter leading them to the remains. Police are investigating after authorities found 9 badly decomposed bodies inside a box and 2 inside a casket, all hidden in a false ceiling at the former Cantrell's funeral home. Authorities were identifying the remains and notifying parents. It is unclear how long the remains were hidden. A police official says some of the babies had apparently been stillborn. Kenya's former sports minister has been charged in relation to siphoning off funds meant for athletes who competed in the Olympics in Brazil 2 years ago. The East African nation enjoyed its most successful Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, but the performance was blighted by claims of corruption among senior government officials and the team bosses. An investigation had laid the blame on Hassan Wario, the sports minister at the time, and 5 other former senior officials. They will be charged with the 10 counts of abuse of office and failure to comply with the law. Chilean President Sebastián Piñera has met Pope Francis in Rome as the Roman Catholic Church in Chile faces a crisis over claims of sexual abuse and cover-ups. The meeting comes just hours before Francis defrocked 2 Chilean bishops who have been caught up in the country's widening sexual abuse crisis. Defrocking, officially called reduced to the lay state, means they have been expelled from the priesthood. It is the harshest punishment the church can inflict on a member of the clergy, and such action has rarely been taken against bishops. Protesters from across Germany marched through Berlin against racism, xenophobia and the far right in one of the country's biggest rallies of recent years. Marchers carried placards reading, "Build bridges, not walls," united against racism. Some danced to pop music on a warm autumn day. Organizers put the turnout at over 200,000 people for the demonstrations, which followed the anti-immigration protests in several eastern cities over the summer and a rise in support for the far-right Alternative for Germany party before Bavaria's state election today. Brexit campaigner Farage took the Leave Means Leave campaign to fishermen in Devon in the south of England. The former UK Independence Party leader arrived in the seaside town of Torquay on a bus which had the slogan "Stop the Brexit Betrayal." But one member of the public called Farage a liar and said he had betrayed the country. With less than 6 months to go until the United Kingdom is due to leave the EU, British PM Theresa May is seeking to find consensus on a Brexit plan. Anti-fracking protesters braved bad weather to demonstrate against the first hydraulic fracturing in Britain in 7 years at a site in northwest England. British energy company Codrilla had planned to start fracking a shale gas well at its Lancashire site after a court removed the final hurdle. But it had to delay the commencement until Monday due to a brief delay with the weather conditions. Now, this will be the first fracking of a horizontal shale gas well since a 2011 attempt by Codrilla caused tremors prompting protests, tighter regulations and delays. Flash floods and landslides triggered by torrential rains in Indonesia have killed at least 21 people. 11 school children were among those who died and 15 people were missing. More than 500 homes in the provinces of North and West Sumatra have been flooded or damaged. Some were swept away by the floods, which also destroyed the three suspension of bridges in North Sumatra. 11 children studying at an Islamic village school died after their classroom wall collapsed when a nearby river overflowed. Evacuation is underway, but an official says that access is difficult as the affected villages are in the mountainous region. The fighting in Syria may not be over yet, but reconstruction is underway and life is slowly getting back to normal. In remote towns and villages, people are picking up the pieces with the help of a UN refugee agency. Things have improved in Aleppo's Deir Hafer, a town once held by the ISIL since government forces took control back in January 2017. More and more locals are returning, and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and its partners started a host of projects laying down a more robust foundation for reconstruction. UK-based publishers HarperCollins has introduced Chinese elementary teaching materials into the British primary school education system. The Real Shanghai Mathematics, a set of teaching materials, has been translated into English from Chinese math textbooks. The math textbooks released this time are for grades 1 and 2 primary school pupils, and the books for the other grades will be published later this year. One year after Spain's autonomous community, Catalonia voted to claim itself an independent country, experts have said many international companies had chosen to leave the region to avoid political upheaval. It was estimated that more than 3,700 companies have moved their corporate bases out of Catalonia since October 2017. Catalan independence referendum, which was illegal under the country's law. Farmers in Punjab continued burning paddy fields, challenging a state ban on burning farm residue aimed at checking air pollution. A farmer says that he has no other option but to follow the annual practice of burning the dry straw because another process of clearing the stubble was too expensive as compared to fine they are supposed to pay. The air quality index, which measures the concentration of poisonous particulate matter, has hit 331 in parts of Delhi on a scale where anything above 100 is considered unhealthy by the Central Pollution Control Board. Chief Minister of Indian state of Odisha, Naveen Patnaik, conducted an aerial survey of post-cyclone situation in at least 3 affected districts of the state. Cyclone TITLI left a trail of destruction behind as majority of the farmlands of the 3 affected districts, Ganjam, Gajapati and Raigad, were submerged in deep waters. Mr. Patnaik also announced that the families in Ganjam, Gajapati and Gunupur subdivision will be given relief assistance for 15 days and an extra amount of 3,000 rupees for a family of 4 members residing in the affected region for 15 days. Indian cricket team's batting coach Sanjay Bangar has expressed confidence on his men in blue at the end of the second day of the second test against the visiting West Indies and said that the hosts were in a good position with 2 sets of batsmen on the crease. India dominated the Saturday morning session, needing only 6.4 overs to claim the last 3 West Indies wickets as the tourists folded for 311. India's teenage sensation Prithvi Shaw led India's strong reply with a rapid 70, but West Indies claimed 3 wickets after lunch to roar back into the seesaw contest in Hyderabad. Reports suggest that Indian actor Nana Patekar has quit the film Houseful 4 over sexual harassment allegations against him by Tanushree Datta. The actor's son added that Nana Patekar thought of the convenience of everybody as he wishes the best for the film's crew. The film's director Sajid Khan also stepped down following sexual harassment allegations against him as well.